Hello, hello, hello. I believe I am live. Hello, magic makers and change seekers, wherever you are joining me from. I'm streaming to a number of places today, including our YouTube channel. For those of you who are not aware, we have a YouTube channel, Star Collective. If you look for that on YouTube, you'll be able to subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, I would love for you to subscribe and give any feedback that you wish. Otherwise, you might be catching this in my Facebook group and community for women. This is where the magic happens, or on the Star Collective Facebook page. Wherever you are joining me from, welcome. Thank you for joining me. And if you are tuning in, I would love you to pop a comment in and say hello. Let me know where you are joining from, especially if this is your first time interacting with me or engaging with me. So this is episode 2. Sorry, I'm just tuning in. Interacting with me or engaging with me. Pulling it up on my phone so I can see any comments that might be coming in. And this is our second, as I was saying before I was rudely interrupted by myself, second episode of, sorry, I feel like my camera's a little wonky. There we are. That's a bit better. Second episode, I'll just adjust that so we're not on an angle. Oh, that's really sensitive. Second episode of A Bite with Bron, real trauma talk without any fluff or spiritual bypassing. I think we're good. I don't know. I feel like I'm on an angle anyway. And today we are covering the topic of fake it till you make it, which is one of the strategies that I personally tried to employ for quite some time on my own healing journey and spiritual journey, and very quickly found that it did not work. Certainly didn't work in the way that I intended or the way that I hoped to make it. I just ended up further embedded in a lot of my crap, pretty much. Instead of getting better, I was getting worse. So it's a topic that's close to my heart. That's something I have personally got a lot of experience around and understanding of based on all of that. Hello, Lisa. I can see some people now. I can see names. Sometimes I don't see names in StreamYard, which is where I'm sort of streaming from, but I can see it in the group. So hello, lovely. All right. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Bron. I'm a complex trauma specialist and consciousness energetic alchemist, soul alchemist actually, and founder of Star Collective Institute of Healing, creator of Star Method and all associated programs. So I wasn't always that. I haven't always been doing this work, and I was actually drawn to this work through my own pathway of healing through trauma. And I actually had complex PTSD. I had fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue. Sometimes I sort of struggled to remember what it was like to be in that body and that experience. It seems like many, many lifetimes ago, many past lives ago, even though realistically, I guess it was, 6 years ago now, something like that, when I started this journey for myself, and then from there realized that this is what I was meant to be doing. This is what I was made to be doing. It was what I was born to do, to help people with this work as well, and to bring it to the world. I taught meditation and things again in a past life about 25 years ago, to groups of people and clients. I'd worked with group and individuals, taking them on guided healing journeys and doing energy work at that time. So this was just a natural extension. But what I'm really here to talk about today isn't me. It is the experience of fake it till you make it, and why that particular strategy. It is one that's promoted quite widely. We hear it a lot. And I used to be told this quite a bit as well. Fake it till you make it. Don't worry if you're not there yet, if you don't feel good, How many of you, if you're tuning in either live or if you're watching this on replay, I'd love to know, pop a comment in. Have you attempted the fake it till you make it strategy and approach to life? And if so, did it work? Like, I would love to know. Maybe I should take a survey on this. Because like I said, in my own experience, and certainly in the experience of the clients I work with, they've tried this stuff. Most of the clients I work with have tried everything by the time they get to me. So there's really nothing that hasn't been attempted, including these types of strategies. And, what actually happens, what feeds the need to fake it till you make it? This is probably the most important thing. The idea is you just go along and you pretend that you are the person who has the $1 million. You are the person who you never really understood what it meant. Exactly, Lisa. So let's have a chat about that, right? It's a concept where, you kind of pretend to be the person who has what you want or does what you do or whatever it might be. So, if you want to be a successful person, you might dress in power clothes and, you walk around, you have to walk with your shoulders back and looking confident and looking like a successful person, even if internally you're not feeling it. So if you don't feel confident, if you're scared of speaking, in public, but you want to be a public speaker, or you want to have a YouTube channel, or you want to, have an online presence or whatever it might be, but you're terrified of being out in public, being the public eye, speaking, because you might sound like a weirdo, or you might say something stupid or whatever it is. Hey Dee, how you going? All of these things, right, that regardless of how you feel, you kind of just put on the front and put on the mask, and you go out and you pretend essentially that you are there, that you have that you've got it all together, right? So Maria, yes, it works as a placebo effect. Even though I was not feeling good, I would tell myself I feel good and today will be a good day, and somehow my brain believed it. Sorry, I've just lost the comment and tried to click there. It does not last long, but with practice eventually it becomes true. Yes, this is the important point, Maria. It absolutely does. The placebo effect cannot be denied. The issue is how we are working with the placebo effect. So most of the stuff that goes on through our placebo and our nocebo effect, we have both. So the placebo is the one that, assists us in healing and has a very positive effect. And then the nocebo is the, one where it influences our life in negative ways, and we can actually think ourselves into being sick when potentially there is no illness. So yes, absolutely. The reason it doesn't stick often is because what we are usually doing is band-aiding over something else. When we're using these things without first addressing what's going on underneath to cause us the need to use these things, right? So why do we need to use fake it till you make it in the first place? Because we've got all of this unresolved stuff lying underneath. We've got, excuse me, as you said, Maria, sorry, first time I'm using my voice this morning. As you said, Maria, through the subconscious, through the unconscious mind, right? So there's layers and layers and layers of programming in the unconscious mind that take effect when we're very young, between the age of about 0 to 7 or 8. We're like a sponge and we're just taking in all of the information and stimulus around us. And our unconscious mind is really just working out based on all of the information, doesn't filter any of it. Everything just comes in. And based on all of that information, the unconscious mind works out what is good for us, what is bad for us, what is safe for us, how we survive the world. Do we have to become a people pleaser, for instance, in order to be liked and accepted and survive, whatever it is, right? So when we're working with something like fake it till you make it, and we're not actually aware that there's all of this programming underneath, what drives the need to practice fake it till you make it is an underlying belief that I am not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not valuable enough. I am a fraud. I am a fake. People will find me out, and then people won't like me. So there's an underlying sense already of imposter syndrome that drives the need to fake it till you make it, if you will. Therefore, if we're not addressing that need, that underlying cause, if you will, then we're really only addressing a symptom. So when we're doing things like, it's like affirmations. I say to people, affirmations are great. Same thing, right? They work for a period of time, and then it just doesn't, or it might not work at all. You're trying to do these affirmations and it doesn't work at all, or you're trying to fake it and it doesn't work at all, right? I did the same thing. I would tell myself I felt good. I would get about my day. I would, get on the horse and do all the things and everything else. And yes, I could sustain that concept, if you will, that I was always well in the world, but I couldn't sustain myself physically, mentally, and emotionally on that alone. It's like trying to feed yourself with, clouds and fluff, right? Or smoke, smoke and clouds and things, like trying to eat air, right? It's not real. There's no substance to it. That's the problem. It's the substance that lacks, right? So the substance comes from the connection to self. The substance comes from the connection to higher consciousness, from the understanding and awareness of how we function and operate as a human, but also the fact that we have this higher self, that we are this higher self trying to function as that human, right? So ultimately we are spirit, universal consciousness, God consciousness, call it what you will, having a human experience and trying to work out that human experience and create within that human experience and express through that human experience. This is who we are at a true level. So when we're faking it, we're doing a number of things. We're actually really doing ourselves a disservice because we're not connecting in with the fullness, the truth, the potential of who we are, the power of who we are. We're diminishing ourselves by going, well, I just kind of have to get along and pretend to be that while I'm over here struggling with this. And in doing so, it's almost like the opposite, really, of surrendering to our divine self, our higher self, of giving it over. And instead of faking it, just going, look, I might have to walk through some mess. I might have to walk through some chaos. I might have to feel some messy, chaotic feelings in order to get there. But I want to, genuinely feel this. I want to genuinely feel that connection. So if we're told, just pretend that you're the person who has it all together and has the $1 million. And how do you do that? You look like them, you dress like them, you walk like them, you talk like them, you associate with other people who have that. And yes, some of that is going to rub off on you, but long term, your spirit, your soul is longing for something more. It wants the depth, it wants the substance, it wants the more in order to grow and expand. It wants to feel all of the feels in order to grow and expand. It doesn't just want this sort of superficial surface kind of human walking through the world, faking it, because we want these things over here that we attribute to a successful life. Really, it's about embodying and embracing who we are in our fullness. And that's something that you can't really fake, is it? I mean, you can't really fake the truth of who you are. By very definition, it is the truth of who you are. So you can't fake it. You can't falsify it. And to me, living in the truth of who we are is so much more. It is so much richer. I've tried both. Trust me, I've tried both. I've tried faking it, and now I get to live and experience my truth. And It doesn't always feel like unicorns fighting rainbows. It doesn't always feel like a great day. It doesn't always feel like, oh my God, life is so amazing and I'm in 5D and I don't have to worry about any of those things that other people worry about, because we are still having a human experience. But what it means is that, instead of faking it and then coming up against a resistance or a block or, something that goes, that's not who you are, part of my programming, an old story, an old wound, right? A repressed feeling that is coming up and asking to be healed, being triggered into something. Instead of that happening, and because I'm faking it, I lose my shiz and, go into this complete spiral of all of my stuff, rage, pain, anxiety, depression, so that I'm on this roller coaster, right? It's that roller coaster of a completely dysregulated nervous system, right? That is so hyper aroused generally all the time. And we're faking it. So we're kind of walking along pretending that we're all calm, cool, and collected. But underneath, it's the proverbial duck, right? With the little legs going. So I've experienced that. And that is not where I want to be, because what happened when I was in that space, when I was faking it, first of all, I was stoking my own imposter syndrome. So I suffered greatly from imposter syndrome. Many wounded healers do. Not worthy, not good enough. Who am I to, help people, or who am I to give people any kind of, share any kind of knowledge or anything with people? Like, who am I to do that? All of those things are common to the wounded healer. And, so in pretending, I was actually reinforcing the fact that I wasn't good enough. It's like, yeah, well, you've got to pretend. You've got to pretend to be someone else. You've got to fake it, because your true self is not good enough for these people. Your true self is not worthy of these people. Your true self is not worthy of this service that you are, you feel compelled to provide and to give and to share. So, part of me would be holding back because I wasn't delivering that service from the truth. It's why I stopped doing the work I was doing in my 20s and went, nope, and just clammed up. And I locked away my inner healer and said, nope, because I could feel myself. I could feel this hole every time I was in that situation. Every time I walked into a room to deliver, a meditation or something, there'd be this part of me that was so enraptured with what was about to happen and overjoyed and just overcome with this incredible sense of bliss and wonder. And then there was a part of me that was completely freaking out. And she was so intense and, created so much resistance that I just stopped, right? So when we butt up against this resistance, when we're faking it, it's very easy to just stop, to just give up, to just step back, to, contract within rather than expand without. And, that's really the issue with these approaches long term, is that, we want to walk in our truth. We don't want to walk around with masks on. It's why we do this work, right? To take the masks off, to take away all of the embellishment, all of the pretense of who we are based on other people's expectations or opinions, and live in alignment with our true higher self. So, and create and express that through ourselves as a human being in our human experience. Does that all make sense? So give me a thumbs up if you're feeling me. So, this is where we end up. We end up in this sort of cycle of, I'm faking it, I'm kind of there, I'm kind of feeling okay. And then we go on the downward spiral. And what inevitably happens is our body can't cope with that. Our body physically can't cope with that. Like I said, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue. I had a nervous system that was shot. So I was always stressed, anxiety, overwhelm, immune system that was shot, digestive system that was shot, all because of what was going on for me internally, while on the surface, I had all of it together. And that's how people saw me, as having it together. But I certainly didn't feel together. None of me felt together. I felt so scattered. I felt constantly overwhelmed, and essentially ended up on the brink of complete burnout. And I was a rageaholic. I would be triggered by my kids, by my partner, and I would go into rages and get really angry. And it was uncontrollable, out of control. Hey, William, good to see you. So thank you for the thumbs up. So, this is what happens when we persist with these things. It can actually do more harm than good, because it embeds the imposter syndrome. It feeds it, right? We're actually feeding it, because we're going, well, I don't believe that I'm good enough, so I'll just pretend. And the imposter in us is going, of course you don't believe you're not good enough, because you're not good enough. This is, I've got you right where I want you. We're safe here in our nice little hidey hole. We'll only go so far, and we'll only expand so far, because that's safe. But other than that, we're kind of, this is all we can manage. And of course, while we're doing this, we're going up and down in terms of our nervous system, our physiology, our cellular health, all of the rest of it. So long term, it's not ideal. It can absolutely work short term, yes. And as many things as possible, we want to feed with the placebo. We want to feed the placebo effect with. We want to use these tools to feed that within us, and to, reveal that part of us. But we also need to understand what's working in the background as the nocebo. We need to understand what's working in the unconscious to sabotage, because we are our own worst enemy. We are our own biggest self-saboteurs. We don't need anybody else to sabotage us. I was talking to my practitioners yesterday about this in training, and talking about validation. When we are faking it, we need validation. We're seeking that external validation. We feel like we need to put on a brave front, put on a brave face. Why? Why do we feel that? If we're having a bad day, why don't we let ourselves have a bad day? There's a question. It's just a bad day, or a bad minute, or a bad hour. If we let ourselves have those moments, validate ourselves in those moments, and go, you know what, it's okay. You're feeling a bit shitty right now. That's fine. That's okay. Let's just, I'm just going to sit with you. I'm just going to be here for you. And when we don't run away from that feeling, when we don't immediately go, well, no, I have to put on a smile and put on a brave face and fake it till I make it, because what will people think? They'll think I can't manage. They'll think I can't handle something. They'll think I'm a failure. They'll think this. They'll think that, right? Often we are faking it, not for ourselves to make it, but for the sake of what other people will think about whether we've made it or not. So, that sense of seeking validation outside of ourselves is often what leaves us susceptible to these, just do this, just slap on a smile, just, fake it, you'll be fine. It's not for the sake of ourselves, it's for the sake of other people, right? And keeping them comfortable so that they will want to be around us, so that they won't abandon us or desert us, as maybe has happened in the past, and we've experienced, and we've got all of those wounds as well, feeding those beliefs that we have to be a certain way in order to be acceptable. But the more we fake it through those feelings rather than feeling through those feelings, the more we're repressing all of that stuff inside of us. We expend 80% of our energy repressing emotion, unwanted emotion. Anger, grief, guilt, shame, disappointment, frustration. We repress it, we hide it, we push it down. All of that wounding, we push it down. And that's what we're expending all of our energy on. That's why we get tired all the time, exhausted, sick, because it is toxic energy when it is just sitting in the system building up. So we need to feel it in order to heal it, in order to make it. Right? When we're not feeling it and when we're faking it, then we're generally putting on a show for to save face, right? To be accepted. So people don't, especially in the spiritual community, I see it all the time. My practitioners, my client, like everyone, I don't hide the fact that I have bad days. I am not some sort of, ascended master. If I was, I wouldn't be here talking to you on Facebook. I'd be sitting out there with, Jesus and Buddha and Kuan Yin and having a nice old time. So, I'm still having a human experience, and my human still has messy, chaotic, calamitous days, sometimes moments, sometimes, hours. It just, and I allow it for her. I let her have that space. I let her have those moments because I know what comes from repressing them. I know what comes from just slapping on a smile and going, you know what, it's all right. Don't worry about it. You're fine. Just, just pretend your way through this. You'll be great. I know what that is. I like real now. I like real. Even if real is raw, give me real, give me raw, give me it all, right? Because it's real, it's substance. This is the experience that we want to have, that we come here and, we're so excited and we're so determined to have. And as babies, we learn how to do all of these magical, amazing things so we can have these magical, amazing, substantial, expansive experiences. And then we take on all of this programming and it all becomes very surface level and superficial experiences. You too, Lisa. Yes, right? That's, really feasting on the abundance of life. And when we feast on the abundance of life, more of it comes, more of it comes, more of it comes. We attract more and more. I said we need to feel it to heal it. We also need to feel it to reveal it. And what I mean by that is, again, we can fake that we've got the this and the that and whatever it is that we're wanting. But, we need to feel the emotion of what it is that we're wanting. It's not just it's not just the surface level of how it looks to have that. I can walk around in my power suit and drive my car that I can't afford and I've got on credit because I'm faking it. And the house that I can't afford and all the rest of it because I'm faking it. Yeah, sure, I can do all those things. But what we also realize is we're not actually after all of those things, right? It's not the car and the this and that because you've already got it. So if you've already got it, surely you should feel good about that, but you don't, right? I know because I had it all and I didn't feel good still, right? That was success. Why don't I feel good? I have faked it all the way to having all this crap that I can't really afford. I should feel great. Of course I didn't feel great. It was all illusion. It was all just surface, superficial, right? But it looked like I had it all together. People would come to my house and go, oh, look at you must be, and, celebrate my success. It was all bullshit. And to sustain that was taking all of my energy, and not only that, it was all of the stuff that I was repressing to sustain that was zapping all of my energy on top of it. So this is why that sort of, concept becomes such a drain. Whereas the thing you want is the felt experience. You want the felt experience, not the things you can touch and taste. And, those things are great and they're nice. Don't get me wrong. We all love them. I like nice, bright, shiny things too, and pretty crystals and stuff. They're fun. They're nice. But they're not it. The feeling is what we are after. The feeling is what we want. Right? We want the feeling. We think we want the flash and the, all the things that are going to, impress other people. I want to inspire people. I don't want to impress people with anything. I want to inspire people just, by living my truth. That's it. If I inspire a person, I'm far happier than if I've impressed them with a flashy car or a flashy house or a flashy anything else about my life. Here's my bank account and here's this. And that's not what we're chasing. Ultimately, that's not what people are chasing. And it's why people keep chasing, because they don't realize it's not that. It is the feeling. So, if you are faking it and not feeling it, then how are you going to attune yourself to the felt experience of that person that you want to be and become? What I mean by that is, all right, let's say you want $1 million in the bank. That's great. That's fine. What you want is the freedom that $1 million gives you. It's not the $1 million, because once you had the $1 million, that wouldn't be enough. This is what happens when we chase things. Then you would want another million and another one on top of that and another one. This is what happens when we're chasing the thing, the surface level, superficial thing. When we are sitting in the feeling, when we are immersing ourselves in the feeling, this is actually what we truly want. This is what our spirit craves. This is what our spirit longs for. This is what we are chasing, because our spirit is calling for it, is wanting that connection, and to sit in that frequency and sit in that vibration, because that is the vibration and frequency of creation. So I guess what I'm ultimately saying is we can't fake our way into creating what it is we are here to share with the world. That on its own is not enough. None of these things on their own are enough, because they are all complementary. We can certainly, once we've done some more work and once we're attuned to ourselves, we can go, well, I am becoming that person, so I am walking as that person. But we know it's very different then. There's substance to it. We are walking as that person because when we close our eyes and we visualize and we connect with that person, it's not the big bank account and the house and everything else. It's the felt experience. It's the feeling, right? And we can connect with the feeling because we haven't repressed all of our other feelings. We haven't faked away and repressed all of our other feelings. If we're not willing to feel all of the other stuff that we consider bad or negative, then what we do is we repress and we numb ourselves. We numb ourselves through addiction. We numb ourselves through codependency. We numb ourselves through social media. We numb ourselves through whatever it might be, online shopping. Pick your poison, right? We've all got a numbing poison, an escape route, right? Netflix. Everyone looks for an escape, an out, right? What are people numbing and running away from? Themselves, their feelings. Simple as that. And faking our way through life is another way that we run away from our feelings. We deny our feelings. We repress our feelings. So for me, it's about making friends with your feelings. This is the work we do. Make friends with your feelings. Get to know your feelings. Understand and connect with your inner child, because you know what? Your truth at your core is your inner child. The expression of your inner child. And what we run away from and want to numb is the pain of the inner child, always. So, because there's so much authenticity, sorry, just read you a word. There's so much pain. There's so much unresolved wounding around our inner child. I was just reading your comments, Lisa, and catching up. Yes, authenticity is the bomb. It is the catalyst. Authenticity is the catalyst for our expansion, for our growth, right? Our triggers, when we can be authentic and actually own our triggers and go, oh, okay, I felt that one. Woo! Some anger coming up there. There's some resentment coming up here. Oh my gosh, I'm a little frustrated right now. When we can actually own it and sit with it rather than repress it because we don't want, maybe we don't want conflict or whatever it is we tell ourselves. But ultimately, it is more repression of the pain. We don't want to deal with the pain. We don't want to turn inwards and face the pain because it's too much. And especially when we've repressed it for a long time. By the time I got to mine, I was in my 40s, right? It was a long time coming. And there was a lot of pain to work through, a lot of stories, a lot of layers. That's why one of the things we're hoping is for some preventative stuff, where we can actually start to teach children emotional intelligence, emotional resilience, how to work through your feelings, how to be with your feelings. It is safe to be with your feelings. We are told all the time in our world, it's not safe for you to feel that. You can't feel that way. You can't get upset. Successful people never get upset. They're never flustered. They're never this, they're never that. Rubbish. It's all rubbish. It's all just smoke and mirrors, right? For the sake of how we appear to the outside world. But, when we walk through life that way, who are you living your life for? Who are you living your life for? I was living my life for the sake of appearances for a long time. I wasn't living my life for me. I was just going through the motions. We talk about going through the motions. We're going through the motions when we're simply existing for the sake of appearances and other people's opinions of us. How many likes we can get on social media, how many people will invite us to their parties, how many friends we have, how many people at work like us. We try and mold ourselves into all of these expectations and ideas of what it is to be a successful human being, whether it feels good for us or not. Why? Because we don't even know what feels good for us. We become so disconnected, so numbed to our own feelings. We don't even know anymore what feels right, what feels wrong. We cut ourselves off from that incredibly important internal compass that points us always to our true north, where our most expansion is, where our most growth is, where our most learning and evolution is as a being. So, we're hoping that we can teach this stuff to younger generations through the pathways we're creating, so that, I saw something, I think it sums it up really well. It was a meme or something that someone had put up, a post. I don't know, saw it somewhere. But it really, I thought it was just perfect, right? It just perfectly expresses all of these ideas, that we have. Like we talk about, just be strong and resilient and rah, 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 rah. And, especially with kids, right? The reason that I didn't want to fake it anymore is I was affecting my children. I was impacting my children. I was transforming. Instead of transmuting my own trauma before I had kids, no, I didn't do that. They were my catalyst. So instead of, having transmuted my trauma and being aware then and a self-actualizing human being who doesn't have all of my crap following me around and influencing, my past, influencing my present, instead of doing that, I went into, having my kids in this absolute mess of a human who just, physiologically, mentally, emotionally, prepared for that. No. So, and I don't judge her anymore. She was where she was and she did what she knew with what she had at the time. I have no judgment for her whatsoever. A lot of empathy, a lot of compassion, but no judgment. And so instead of transmuting all of that stuff, I ended up transposing it onto my kids. I passed it on to them. So this is what we essentially do when we're not actually dealing with our stuff, when we're kind of just, on the surface level, trying to look like we've got it all together when we really don't. There is nothing wrong with wanting to look like you've got it all together, as long as you are facilitating that through the deeper work, so that you are being true to yourself and kind to yourself at the same time, rather than just, locking away the parts of you don't like, and hiding them away from the world in some sort of tower, where they forever be locked away and forgotten and ignored, because they will invariably come back to bite you in the butt. They will invariably come back to create resistance and conflict, and, patterns of the unresolved trauma in your life will surface as you continue to walk through life in that way. It's just what happens. So authenticity and feeling it, being able to own your emotions, being able to own your stuff. This is where it's at, because When you can do that with everything else, then you can do that with all of the stuff. Like, this is how you manifest, right? People talk about manifesting. How do I manifest? How do I make the law of attraction work? The law of attraction is working for you all the time. You are drawing things to you based on your energy, right? Your energy does not lie. Your energy, there's no faking your energy. You can fake it on the surface, but your energy, 95% of you is in a true state of where you're at, is reflecting and projecting out into the world a true state of where you're at. And you can't make that shit up. You can't, right? You can pretend to be all happy and la la la, but if your energy is not there, you're going to be drawing things in like a magnet, not that reflect what you're doing on the surface, but what's happening underneath, truly, genuinely. So it's really about knowing thyself. Know thyself. Be aware of thyself. Understand thyself, right? And isn't that kinder than feeling and more gentle and more loving and more compassionate and more respectful to self than kind of going, well, I just got to fake it and pretend because I'm not that. It just feels nicer, doesn't it? To know thyself, to understand thyself, to love thyself, rather than to go, well, you're not good enough, so I've got to pretend that you're something else until you are good enough, until I say you're good enough, until I think you're good enough. When will that be? I don't know. Maybe never. Who knows? Hello, Molly. Good to see you. Truth. Yes, you can't hide your energy. That's exactly it. You cannot hide your energy no matter what. It's why kids, I remember my mum used to say to me, I would have a meltdown or something, or, just some horrible moment, around my kids, and they would see that, right? And my mum would say to me, oh, don't worry, they won't remember, And I know she had the best intentions, and everyone does. I got told that so many times, that don't worry, they won't remember. Yeah, they do. It's not the words. It's not because they don't have the language and they won't remember the language and the exact interaction and, that exact memory. The energy of that experience stays with us. It stays with us. You can't fake that. You can't pretend it away, right? So the quote that I saw that I was going to share with you, it was a woman had said something about her. It said, my therapist told me that children are very resilient. And her response was, well, why then are all of us adults in therapy? Right? The concepts of just pretend you're okay, the concepts of, everyone's resilient and people get over it and just get over it and all the rest of it, clearly look around you, do not work. How's that working out for you? Society, humanity, not the best, right? We have assigned ourselves these concepts and, how we can just get away with kind of, I don't know, tripping through the world without ever really knowing who we are, owning who we are, taking responsibility for who we are, sharing of who we are, loving who we are, most importantly, just make it from start to finish somehow, muddle your way through using all of these concepts, like just get over it, you're resilient, you're tough, be strong, don't worry about it. And in the process, we've also created a society where it's not okay to be weak, to have an emotion that's perceived as weak, especially for men. Oh, no, you can't feel that if you're a man. You're too sensitive. As men, talk about fake it till you make it. Again, how's that working for you? It's not at all. Look around, right? It's not working. We need to come back to our truth. We need to reconnect to our authenticity. That's the only path that is actually going to shift things for individuals, for you as an individual, and for us as a collective. It is the only way that we are going to create significant change in our world, not by continuing to pretend. We've done that long enough. And history tells us it doesn't work. So there's my little rant, my little 2 cents on this topic. I told you it's real trauma talk, right? And this is the point. We need to resolve what is within us. We need to resolve the wounds so that we can become all of who we are, so that that stuff doesn't sit on top of us, all the layers of crap smothering our true self, smothering our true potential, smothering our true power. It's not about being a resilient, strong, get over it human. It's about being an empowered, living your potential, authentic, in alignment, loving yourself, in love. In love. It is a being word, not a doing word. You know, without having to ride the roller coaster constantly of, you know, ups and downs and roundabouts and repressing everything that we feel because someone might be uncomfortable or, you know, might not like it or might not talk to us or whatever it might be. It's about honoring self first and foremost. And when we're faking it, essentially we're saying, I don't believe in you. I don't really believe in you. I kind of do, but I don't really. So it's much nicer to be able to say, I believe in you and I love you, all of you, and I accept you absolutely unconditionally. And, you know, I express 100% of my truth of who I am because I am comfortable with that, because I am in love with that, because I am accepting of that, right? And it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. You know, it doesn't matter if someone thinks I'm strong or resilient or a superhero or, in fact, I hate that. You know, I actually don't necessarily like when people, I had a mentor for a long time who would say to me, you know, oh, you're like some sort of Wonder Woman, you know, you should wear your undies on the outside. You're like a, you know, oh, everything you do. Oh, wow. Oh, and it actually, like initially it was like, oh, yes, you know, it felt good. Hey, Elizabeth, good to see you. Hey, Carney. Yeah, I'm just wrapping up, Elizabeth. You know, it felt good because I needed that validation. I still needed that validation. I've got to a place now in myself where I don't need the validation anymore. You know, we all like validation. Don't get me wrong. I still like validation. You know, I still like knowing that, you know, people are relating or, you know, I'm being of service. You know, now the validation to me is, you know, very true. Yes, that's fantastic. I don't go, oh, wow, someone likes what I'm saying. I go, oh, fabulous. You know, the message is resonating with people. That's awesome because that's what I'm here for right now. Before I get on this live, right, I say to myself, how may I serve, right? How may I serve now? How may I be of service? So now the validation is validating the service, not me. I don't need other people to validate me and tell me I'm a worthy human being anymore. God knows I did for a very long time. No judgment on that because I absolutely desperately sought validation everywhere outside of myself for a very, very long time. And when people would invalidate me, I would blame them. But really what I was doing was, in seeking external validation, I was sneakily trying to undermine myself and invalidate myself because I knew I would go to all those people who would tell me it's not going to work. No, you shouldn't do that. So what I would do was I would go seeking validation from all of these people who I knew historically would invalidate what I had to say or what I wanted to do. I already knew. Right. So I was literally setting myself up for sabotage. And then I would blame them. I'd be like, oh, they're such assholes. They always tell me I can't do it. Oh, it's their fault, but maybe they're right. So I won't do that. So it would give me permission to shrink back, right? Because I was afraid that people would see me as a fraud if I went out there and did my thing. I could shrink back and I could blame another person, right? Or I could say, oh, they thought it wasn't a good idea, so I was off the hook. So I was literally in seeking validation. What I was actually seeking was invalidation. I was seeking out the invalidation. So I would go back into my little comfort zone and not expand into that next level of who I was becoming. I would contract. And they gave me permission to contract. Do it. So it gave the part of me that wanted to contract permission as well. She was like, cool, thanks for that. Awesome. I'm contracting now. Here I go back in my shell. So you see how it works? It's that whole, yes, so over validation. Exactly what you see is what you get, right? Like I said, I love, love connecting with people. To me, validation now more is connecting with people, because I see people are, connecting and communicating. We're discussing and we're having conversation. That's what I love. That's what my true self loves. My true self thrives on connection, loves connection. All of our true selves, spoiler alert, love connection and thrive on connection. So, it's the difference between, like I said, knowing thyself and walking in that truth and feeling like, you need other people to say that's okay and you're okay. It's being okay with just walking in your truth, regardless of what anyone thinks of how that looks, just being okay with it and not compromising it. And to me, when we do things like the fakery and stuff like that, in essence, we're compromising our truth. Because again, we're feeding the imposter syndrome and we're telling that part of ourselves that feels like an imposter, you are an imposter. So don't worry, I've got this. I'll fake it on behalf of both of us. Right? So we're feeding the syndrome when we're doing that. We're feeding the pain. We're feeding the wound when we're doing that. We're feeding the part of us who felt abandoned, rejected, and now feels like a fraud and feels like they have to please everyone and feels like they have to, put on a happy face in order to be loved. Now I just enjoy it. I like it. I don't need it. This is the difference between the need and the want. We all want it. Yeah. It's lovely. It's wonderful. But it's when we need it to the point where we're prepared to compromise our truth and be something that we're not, or pretend to be something that we're not, because we think that's what people see as acceptable. So there's a fine line, as you can see, when we use these concepts. We just need to be aware. And I don't say any of this to say don't do it, or do it or don't do it. I have no judgment either way. It doesn't, it's your journey, and what everybody chooses is up to them. But I see so much of this talk. I see so much of these sort of throwaway phrases and catch cries and things like that coming out of all sorts of communities, mainstream even. I've had, psychologists, counselors, I've heard them say give the same sort of advice, and to teenagers and things as well. I mean, really, we could be, teenagers and kids, we could actually be showing them how to be authentic, leading and guiding them into their authenticity. But the problem is we're also busy faking it, adulting. Everyone's running around adulting. So there's no modeling of how to be an authentic human being. And it's okay to be an authentic human being. And that's what our kids need. They need modeling of how to be an authentic human being. And it doesn't matter if you lose it occasionally. And it doesn't matter if you're, upset sometimes. And it doesn't matter if you're having a bad hair day or a bad whatever. It's all okay. And it's all a part of the experience and expression of who you are. And that's okay too, because you're okay and you're worthy and you're enough. So this is what I think we need to be modeling for future generations. Elizabeth, excuse me, sorry, been talking too long. It's really important to just be yourself. It's okay to have those moments. Exactly. Unapologetically you. Absolutely. I say to my clients, my practitioners, everyone, my kids, I tell them this all the time, just be you. Don't worry about what anyone else thinks, right? It's all okay. Oh, I'm glad it was inspiring, Lisa. Like I said, that's what I want. I don't want to impress. I want to inspire. If I've inspired you, then I feel that I have been of service, and I love that. Molly, the girl I sit by at work is exactly what you describe. Yes, seeking invalidation, extremely fake and invasive. She is extremely jealous of me and sends me as harsh energy as possible. Any tips on how to deal with her? I feel like she can't handle my authenticity. So send her love, right? The best way to overcome ill feelings toward us is to hold that person in love, right? Pure love. The same way we would hold ourselves in pure love, a dear friend in pure love, because see, now you can see it, right? Now you can see it. So you don't have to accept her behavior as right or any of those things. But none of that really matters. Whether we accept another person's behavior as right, wrong, or otherwise, we could sit here and talk about all the ways it is or isn't or anything else. None of that really matters. What matters is, as we were talking about before, the energy, right? So if you are the energy and experience and expression of pure love in her presence, if you hold that space in her presence, here's the thing, two things. First of all, you're likely to see a shift in how she responds to you. Second of all, you're impervious then. Absolutely impervious to any energy that she sends your way, because you are holding your own space in love. What am I going to allow into my space? Love. What lights up my space? Love. What sits in my space? Love. 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 Say it to yourself multiple times as you're sitting there opposite the girl at work. Love. Send her love, because that's what she needs. That's what everybody needs, truth be told. So send it to her. Send her love, because you've got plenty, right? We all have plenty of love to give. We are in a state of love. It's not like something, like I said, it's not a doing word. It's not like, well, I'm going to love that person, but not that person. I don't like that person because of what they do. We're either in a state of love or we're not. It's that simple. So send her love and hold your space in that state of love. Get yourself some rose quartz. Pop it on your desk as a little reminder. And sending love and not tolerating her abuse. It can be very confusing, but see, this is the thing. When we are holding our space in a state of love, we're not tolerating any abuse from outside of ourselves, right? This is where it does get confusing, because we think, well, but hang on a minute, then that person does that to me and I feel resentment. Yes, I feel resentment because there's an unresolved wound that is triggering in me, right? Or I feel anger, or I feel betrayed, or I feel whatever it is we feel from other person's actions, that's our feeling, right? They didn't make that feeling for us. That feeling comes from within us. Why does it come from within us? Because there are unresolved wounds, right? There are parts of us that are sitting in wounds where they felt betrayed. They felt, there's a lot of resentment still, hangover of resentment. There's a hangover of anger. There's a hangover of frustration, disappointment, whatever's associated with those wounds, wherever the trauma sits, however the trauma sits. Does that make sense? So the feelings that you're getting of her abuse are feelings that are coming up from within you about things that have happened in your past. It is residual hangover emotion and feeling based on past experience, right? So this will be aligned with another story somewhere in your life, right? Of, potentially bullying, something like that. This is what happens. And then obviously we feel that when it comes to us again in that same way, especially if that story has gone unresolved and that part of us that experienced the initial incident, like the bullying. So for instance, okay, here's a really good example, Molly. I've got a great example for you because I can very much relate to this, right? So I actually ended up leaving the workforce altogether. 20 plus years ago, I left conventional mainstream employment, and I started to write as a freelancer, and I did that for 20 plus years. The catalyst for me leaving was exactly what you're talking about, on steroids, right? So it wasn't just women sending me negative energy. I worked in property at the time, and it was a very male-dominated industry, but the women in it were very intense kind of personalities, very strong personalities, and I wasn't that. And I just I was good at what I did, which created a lot of stuff among some people, but so I copped a lot of stuff from the other women, especially. And I remember, I went to my boss with it once, and he went row, like I was being catty. Right? Like I had no one to talk to, so I just left. Right, I couldn't deal with it anymore. I just left. Now, the reason that it was so big for me and I ended up walking out was because I had experienced phenomenal bullying as a child. By phenomenal bullying, I actually had one experience where a boy who was, I think I was about probably 9 or 10 at the time, and I was walking to a friend's place on my own, and this neighborhood, he was renowned for being a neighborhood bully, but he liked to pick on me a lot anyway. I don't know why. Bailed me up, and he was about 3 years older than me. So he was actually quite significantly taller than me, bigger than me, stronger than me. And he had sticks, and he just was like slashing at me with these sticks. And I remember coming home just bleeding everywhere. That was just one incident. And I had many, many instances of quite severe bullying in my childhood. So the reason that I then could not handle the office bullying, and the reason that the office bullying happened was because I had the unresolved experiences of the bullying when I was a kid. But it was also the reason I couldn't handle it. It was also the reason it brought up all of these feelings in me, of the resentment, of the anger, of the injustice, why is this happening? And just feeling, like it was so unfair and all that kind of thing. That was all my inner child that had been bullied as a child going, this is how I feel, and coming up to the surface for me in that moment. It was triggering that for me. So this is kind of what I'm describing for you, Molly, is just to be aware. And when that happens, allow yourself that moment to really give yourself love. First of all, give yourself love. You don't go projecting love to her, because it's not going to be real. It's going to be like, I love you, I want to kill you. You don't want to fake that, right? First and foremost, you want to give yourself love, right? Give yourself love. Recognize that what the feelings that are coming up in response to her behavior are coming from a part of you that needs some love, right? That needs to feel like she's safe. So tell yourself, I'm safe. Tell yourself it's all okay. Give yourself love. Give her love. Tell her it's okay. It's all right. She can't hurt you. She can't hurt you. She can't do anything to her. You're perfectly safe. I've got you. Reassure that part of you that rises to the surface and is triggered by her behavior. And from there, then you're holding your state in love. Do you see what I'm saying? So you're not allowing her to control how you respond. You're not allowing her to control you to the point where she's got you defaulting back into the past stories because she's triggering you into those past stories. So you take all of her power away, right? And that's what you want to do. You just want to take her power away and bring it back to you, right? Through your own self-awareness of realizing this is where it comes from. It's not her. She's just a catalyst. She's just a catalyst. There's all of these catalysts in our lives, the bullies, the workplace bullies, the partners, the kids who trigger us. These are all merely catalysts to show us where we are ready for deeper healing and things that need to be and want to be healed now, parts of us that are still sitting in those old stories. Does that make sense, Molly? Does that help as well, that reframe? It's really reframing it to see, because when we say, I've got to deal with, how do I deal with that person and making it about them, we're giving them all of our power because we're saying they're creating this for me. They're actually not. We create everything for ourselves, including how we feel. So you have a little bit of fear of her tarnishing your reputation or pulling you into her drama. See, this is where it gets interesting, because look at that, right? Tarnishing your reputation. What's a reputation? A reputation is just what other people think of us. So, again, that's giving her your power by saying she actually has some control over who you are. She doesn't have any control over who you are unless you give her that control. No one has any control of who we are unless we give them that authority and control. That is the truth. So just, you're holding yourself in love. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. Even if she gets people on side with her and off side with you, who cares? They're not your people. It doesn't matter. And you know what? In 10 years' time, you won't know any of those people again. Trust me. I've had many jobs. and you will not know those people again. And your reputation in that place will not matter an iota. So do you see what I'm saying? It's about making you matter. Making you matter the most in this scenario. Not your reputation, not what anyone else thinks of you, none of that. Making you matter. All that is just fluff. Reputations, fluff. I actually could not give a crap, genuinely could not give a crap these days as to what people think, because I can't control it. It's not that I don't give a crap because I'm like, whatever. I'm like so uber spiritual. I just don't care. I just realize and know that I can't control what anyone else thinks of me. So why am I going to waste my energy worrying about it or trying to control it or trying to make them like me? I would rather just do me, be me, experience me. That's what I'm here to experience. That's what I'm here to express, not what someone else thinks that should be. And that's all a reputation is, really, ultimately. Doesn't matter, Giving away power, yes, makes sense. Awesome. And does that make sense as well about the fear of the tarnishing your reputation? See, all of that is just further resistance playing out and talking. That's what that is. That's just all of the, see, look at it. It's your fears, right? Again, probably attached to an old story. Stories. They're there. Got to learn to live with them. Learn to, befriend them. Learn how to acknowledge them. Learn how to be aware of them. Learn how to observe them. Most importantly, observe yourself in those moments, right? And observe how in those moments you can give yourself love. That is the best thing that you could do in that situation. And yeah, I have no doubt that you will absolutely, when you start to shift how you are responding, you will see a change in her behavior. I guarantee. It's how it works. Absolutely how it works. Because, like I said, these people are catalysts. They're here to show us. What a fascinating and fabulous conversation. Yes, I like that team feeling. I value it. Connection. Yes, absolutely. And that's it, right? Connection to self first and foremost. Connection to self first and foremost. I am my own team first and foremost. Team Bron, go Team Bron, right? Go Team Molly, right? That's the truth. You have all of these parts inside of you that are all part of your team. And some of them, when they're out of sync, when they're sitting in unresolved wounds, they can create some resistance, right? They can feel like they're batting for the other team. They're sabotaging your team efforts. So when we are, focusing on ourselves first and foremost, rather than out there, the team out there comes together when the team in here comes together. In my experience, that is true. In all experience, that is true, but especially in my experience, that is true. The team that has come together around Star Collective would not have happened if this in here wasn't, all together. Not that I'm all together all the time, but, at least I'm aware when I'm having a moment. So, Yeah, value the internal connection first and foremost, the internal team first and foremost. You're very welcome, Molly. All right. I am sending everyone so much love. Remember, you are worthy enough and you don't have to fake anything for anyone ever. You don't owe anyone anything. This is your life. You are here to live it in your authentic truth, to your authentic self, to be your authentic self and your authentic expression. That is the reason you are here. There is not another human being on the planet that is you. You are it. Right? So be all of you unapologetically, live all of you unapologetically. And if you need some help with that, you know where to find me. I'm pretty good at helping people with that one. So reach out if you want to talk. Reach out if any of this has resonated and you want to find anything else about or any more information. Sorry, I'll get my words straight in a minute, about the programs that we offer with Star Method. We've got Star Method one-on-one program that is amazing to resolve your trauma and connect in with your higher self and higher consciousness so you can be that divine expression every day of your life. And really transform your world and also break generational cycles, intergenerational cycles of trauma, most importantly. We've also got the group program currently, which is launching in April. And that is the Hero's Journey to Self-Magic Mastery. Very, very excited for this one. Beautiful, small, beautiful group that is forming to go on this journey, this pathway to deeper exploration of self, deeper awareness of self, and a beautiful self-actualization that really only comes when we do that deeper work. And the way of being in that self-actualization is just magical, everyday, magical, synchronistic, beautiful. Even the triggers, we even love to learn to love our triggers as we work through these processes. And so they're the two programs that we've got running at the moment. If you would like to find out any more information about those, feel free to reach out. You can send me a message. You can also pop a comment in if you would like to know more, and I can reach out to you. All right. Thank you, Elizabeth. I appreciate everyone here for joining me and for being here as I share. It's always fun to talk to other people instead of just fresh air or crickets. So thank you so much, everyone, for the engagement. Thank you, Molly, for bringing up that beautiful, very raw experience that you're having so that we could talk through that. That was fabulous. And thank you to everyone else who's joined me, William, Dee, just going through my list, Lisa, Maria, everyone who has spent time with me today. I very much appreciate it. Look out for next week's episode of A Bite with Bron, which I will be actually moving these episodes to Monday mornings. And I've got some info on that as well that I will be sharing on my pages and in the group. So look out for those notifications and notices going up and announcements so you can join me again for another one of these awesome connective episodes. I love it. And events, love connecting. Thank you so much. You're very, very welcome, William, and I'm just seeing who else I've got here. Everybody else. Thank you. I really appreciate you being here. Like I said, have an amazing weekend, a magical weekend. And remember, be true to you because you're awesome. You're amazing. You are the unicorn farting rainbows. We're all pretty magical. So own it. Own that magic. All right. Sending you lots of love. Bye for now.